Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to this Game 2 between Fleury14 and a Stone Dingley. My name is ZoeVermilion, and I'm joined in the booth by the pun master himself, Bakashinobi. How you doing tonight, Baka?
I'm doing just wonderful, thank you.
Starting early, I see.
You set me up for it.
Well, we have a fantastic race here. Fleury won the first round of this quarterfinal matchup. So a win here tonight will put him in through to the semis. But a Stone Dingley, having just knocked off Zilch in the previous round, is hoping to push this to a game 3. We're in for a really, really great race here tonight. I don't understand Dingley's character name scheme, but these objectives, they seem pretty easy.
Yeah, I see it's very XCal focused. We're all about just getting nice, shiny swords, examining them, selling them, and then going and looking at the look of despair on Cecil's face as he's wearing that curse ring, because that whole vanilla agility flag, where if you have Cecil in your party, he is going to be your agility anchor, and with the agility shenanigans in this game, you really want to be able to go and manipulate that in your favor for some very specific fights.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll find out what our actual objectives are here shortly, presumably once we're off these naming screens. I think Fleury's playing Dance Dance Revolution.
I know that I have gone and just practiced warming up for my menuing, because you can go and there is a certain trick. If you notice that Fleury sometimes goes and very quickly skips over to the far right or skips over to, that is actually a trick in the you can do called plinking, where if you press the Y button or I believe the L button while in the inventory, you duplicate your left input so you can scroll down faster. It was tech that was first really used in the World Series of Free Enterprise Appleseed percent, because it meant you could spam using apples faster. But in this case, it's used to go and quickly navigate down to specific commands faster.
I miss the days of pure Free Enterprise. Now everyone's got all these. We got the plinkings and we have the Baron manips, and just I've only been around this community since March, and I still can make old woman get off my lawn jokes. Hey, we have a Cecil start, so that would have been number 4 lit up, except for now we have our actual objectives.
Yes, we need to go and complete the Giant of Babel, raise the big whale, and return the pan to Young's wife, in addition to the static objective of have Kakol forge a legend sword with the adamant. So, hard required darkness crystal, as we need 3 of the 4 objectives in order to get our crystal.
Hey, Gambit, don't forget to start the timer. Oh, hey, look, there's a Tella to go along with that required darkness crystal.
And we get an earth crystal, so I believe we are probably going to be seeing our runners go straight to Toria and loot that treasury, because that rock opens up the Toria treasury in addition to the key item check of the Tower of Zod.
Yep, that treasury probably be one of the first stops that our runners make, just because getting that huge amount of treasure out of the way that can be very good and really kind of let you know, am I going to be using this Cecil for more than just an anchor? Because if you pull like a crystal sword out of there, or even an Excal, you can make use of his offensive abilities a bit more. Finding this Tella, though, we know we have a required darkness crystal. That means that before the end of the seed, we will have access to a D-Machine grind. Guaranteed.
Yep. And with this, unless we go and get put into some very weird position where you can't get through Ordeals because some nasty bosses are there, and you're in go mode, maybe you go and skip that grind and do 1200 HP strats.
Yeah, that would rely on a lot of these key items being on the overworld, but rando's gonna rando. Definitely seen other things, and I believe we're raiding that treasury. This is, hey, a sorcerer robe. I think that's the best thing you pulled.
It's no crystal sword.
Yeah, definitely not. Lots of neat little edge utility things in there, but I'll probably call that about a 4.
Yeah, the ninja robe is also a very strong source of cash. That is, let's be honest, the primary use of the ninja robe, because extra agility and defense is nice, but it's not very often that you need edge to tank things. Usually you just prefer to go and have a lot of money.
The Gaia Drum's a good pull, very powerful GA item, which can take care of multi-unit bosses very early on. Can even just deal a pretty big chunk of damage to a potential nasty boss at, say, Antlion or the Full Defense. So that's probably the best pull out of there. The Sorcerer Robe is good if you get another mage in this party, because it is, aside from the White Robe, it is the best caster armor in the game, and it is the best caster armor for black mages.
Yeah, it's also good defense, and Tella doesn't have many stats naturally, so anything that gives him any additional stats is pretty handy. And, well, this is a bit niche, but I do believe it also gives undead resistance, which can be very helpful in certain fights for Tella, where if you have to deal with an early elements in, say, that Baron End spot, Tella in the back row of the Sorcerer Robe is actually going to be pretty well defended and able to go and just fire through that elements without too much worry.
And both our runners heading over to Watery Pass. This place also having some better than average loot, as well as a free character check. And that character is a Porum. Someone ring the Demarine alarm.
Sadly, Porum's not going to be joining this party. Probably can't go and anchor with her because I already have Cecil, so, she's not really able to do anything to help significantly at this point. Maybe I'm a little harsh on Porum.
Like, she gets you an early source of Berserk for doing Ordeals. I was going to say she also gets Exit, but so does Tella.
Yeah, Tella starts with that spell. With Tella in the party, my personal preference is not to go and take the Porum, just because, well, you have Berserk, and unless you need to be Berserking and then throwing out tier 3 elemental spells, Tella will do the job that Porum does early, and she just doesn't scale very well late game. She gets her spells very late, she gets very weak HP growth compared to Rosa, so both of these things are not really what you want. But if we keep seeing Edwards, maybe Porum will go and get added to this party as a slingshot target for white.
Yeah, this is the second Edward we've seen. We saw one in Baron Inn, and here's a nice little dose of vanilla. Gambit knows who's in the booth and is pandering to me.
Vanilla Edward, he does go and if we had Viridian on the team, it would be the Vanilla team to come in here, but Tella doesn't go and lose his head and start attacking the Bard today. Instead, decides he can play nice, or, the Bard can be told not to join us today.
Please listen, you spoony Bard. Anyway.
We do not have the spoon flag on.
Yep, unfortunately not so. Oh, hello.
Well, that Palom might increase or decrease the chance of Porum joining the party, if only because Palom and Porum can use Twin, which is pretty good damage early on, but if you get through 1 or 2 fights with Palom, he's going to have tier 2 spells and be able to carry a lot of damage early on.
Also very notable, we have a second Cecil, so if we do luck into something like a Crystal Sword or that Forge objective, or even just a loose Excal, that really makes Cecil melee strategy a bit more viable.
Yep, that is something where, because we have the vanilla agility flag on, Cecil is the anchor, but if you have 2 Cecils, the one closest to the middle slot is the anchor. So you could go and level up 1 Cecil and leave the other Cecil napping. And we do see that there is a Cane on Mount Hobbs being guarded by the Dark Elf. Dingley, I believe, resetting out of that check. And going up the Mount Ordeals to go and see who the character up here is. And it's another Porum.
More baby white mages.
Yep. Porum's definitely a character that you can find in this game, and outside of some very dedicated people, he's not usually a first choice because HP growth is very important, and outside of the fact that, yeah, she gives you Berserk faster than Rosa, she struggles to go and compete for slots very well. But Palom is a good black mage. Palom is a very strong black mage in the form of both having better HP growth than Rydia, learning Nuke faster than Rydia, also goes and has the Bluff command, which when used in combat will go and temporarily increase their wisdom by 16 until the end of the fight, or if you change your equipment because of how Final Fantasy IV is coded.
But Baka, doesn't Palom learn Nuke 2 levels after Rydia?
Why, yes, Palom does. Unfortunately, Rydia, being that whole summoner thing where she's a black mage and a summoner, she suffers multi-classing experience penalties, so Rydia at level 50 needs 1 million experience. Palom to get level 52 needs 900,000.
Yay, variable experience curves. But yeah, we've seen the 2 forms. At this point, I think the only overworld check that we haven't particularly seen character-wise is that Sand Ruby that they don't have yet. So there's no roses just yet. So we might be seeing a Porum in this party before this seed is up.
We do have that Earth Crystal where if I'm
yes.
stuck with the choice of Porum or do Zot, I'll probably do Zot before I go and commit myself to a Porum because, I'm a real hater, but there's a D-Mist, so...
Bonus round!
Yep, the bonus round. And that Black Sword's going to go and do extra damage against this Threemus, though it still has 1,000 HP, and Dark Knight Cecil's best weapon is a meager 1 or 30 attack power.
This would be a potentially useful fight for that Gaia drum, just so you don't get a mist phase.
Looks like Fleury is choosing not to go and use it, just wants to even get through this. Also choosing not to use any spells on Palom. Might be okay to go and bluff up Palom a bit and throw out some tier 1 spells just to go and push through the damage a little bit harder. As D-Mist is turned into Mist and is now going to be taking ATB to take a bit more time to defeat.
Well, now we got some mist, so we gotta wait. And Stone Dingley's gonna do a bit more shopping here, show us the mist shop.
Stone Dingley's finding Drain Swords and Shadow Swords. The Drain Sword is a rather weak weapon with 50% accuracy, but it has the big advantage of getting -5 to all stats of the user. Which sounds kind of odd. Why would you want to have minus stats on a weapon?
So usually you wouldn't. The only one where you particularly would want to have minus stats is agility, and that's because agility in Final Fantasy IV is witchcraft. A long story short, if you slow down a particular character, in this case it will be Cecil because of the vanilla agility flag, it will, in essence, speed up all the other units in the battle. And if you speed up your agility anchor, as we say, it will kind of slow everyone else down. Kind of conventional wisdom is when you're doing overworld checks, you want a fast anchor. When you're starting to get to some of the more dicey underworld and moon checks, slow anchor good.
Yes, that is something where you'll eventually start fighting bosses that have more agility than you, and giving up those turns can really hurt. So switching things around and making your agility anchor slower can go and help.
Hey, there's another chance for a Rosa, but also it's a hook.
That is a hook. There are 2 ways underground. One is through using the magma key, tossing it into the well in Agert, and just flying down that giant hole that it gets opened up. The second is going through Cave Eblin, taking on the fights at the King Queen Eblin spot and the Rubicant spot, and finding yourself getting through that to launch the Falcon in the lower Babel.
Fleury wasting no time is going to come over here. Going to be doing a bit of looting. There is 1 trap chest in here, so I presume he's just going to loot here at the beginning and then go check the character. And if he decides to loot on the way back out, he'll reset once he comes across that chest. But gated shops in here. There is a character. The loot is a bit higher because of that trap chest. I really like this play early, especially because you have that Tella, which will give you access to exit to make a quick retreat once you've done what you wanted to do here.
Yep, and you can go and get access to the higher tier weapon shops as well. And I think I saw an Ogre Axe for sale in there. That is one of the runner's preferred weapons from this tier because it is not only a very high power weapon, it is also ogre slaying, which on your way down to the fights in Upper Babel, you are going to find a trap chest should you be looting chests, and that trap chest has 4 mad ogres in there. Who that ogre axe? Well, you might be surprised. It does extra damage to ogres.
So are you saying that it's an ogre slaying axe? It's got a +9 against ogres?
I think the fight's gonna be ogre before it starts with that.
Also, hey, more Eddie. And that was an antline at Ruby. Not too bad with a Palom available, but that spot is going to be very punchy, and you're not going to want to attack it.
Correct. Though we do have the benefit of Cecil, and we did find some heavy armor in the form of the Dragoon armor in Antline Cave as a key item reward. Not your preferred reward, but in this case, maybe you take it to go and have Cecil cover Palom while Palom goes and does all the damage.
While our runners do some looting and some more checks, I have a fun trivia fact for the people in chat that understood the reference that I made. And the comedy troupe that created that skit, one of their former members was Dan Harmon, the creator of Community and Rick and Morty.
Ah, that is a reference that went directly over my head. But we did find a dancing dagger in the chest. Fleury did go and find that single fight with trap chest in the Eblan Cave and found a few other good items. The cat claw on that last check. Very good weapon for Yang. Also very good for selling if you want 25,000 gold. But Fleury is... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and Fleury is left Cave Eblan, found what... maybe not find what he was looking for, but has decided he is done with those checks and is joining a Stone Dingley over here at the Fabul Defense. So we'll get to see what boss is here and what key item. We know we have our route underground, but there could still be an overworld magma key, which would make things a little bit easier.
Yes. One of the worst things that happened to a runner on what they think is a hook seed is discovering afterwards that there is a magma key on the overworld for them to get to without serious issue. And that can go and spell disaster for runners.
And the Black Sword is doing some early work in this game. Octomam also weak to Dark, because even the game developers knew that Dark Knight Cecil was a little underpowered and decided, hey, you know those like first 2 bosses that you have to face? Let's just make them weak to that dark element so it seems like he's stronger than he actually is.
Yeah, that is a thing that the game developers did. It's also very amusing that because Octomam is weak to dark, he's resistant to holy, so if you have Paladin Cecil here with a holy sword, he's doing half damage.
And don't cast white on Octomam. Just don't do it. Don't cast Meteo either.
Yeah, those Meteo, fun fact, is a holy elemental spell. Oh my goodness gracious, we found the darkness crystal.
Welp. That hook route is no longer scary as long as our runners want to take the time to do a non-10 key item D-Machine grind.
Considering that you need to raise the whale and completing the Giant of Babel is an objective that is now on the table, I have a strong suspicion that, yes, we are going to see this D-Machine grind after we get through Ordeals. The worst thing that happens is Ordeals is really rude.
Can we just get the trifecta of Wyvern, Valvalis, and Golbez all in Ordeals?
Ooh, Valvalis in the back attack spot would be very, very rude because I don't think we really have a character available to us who could get through it.
There is a cane on Hobbs, guarded by Dark Elf.
Darn, that is not going to go and make our dreams come true.
But that would involve them sacrificing that slot just to get through that Valvalis fight.
Very true. That is one of the interesting things about these permajoin flags of how much do you go and sacrifice early game to be able to go and get to the late game, and how much do you go and accept that, you know, this will take me a bit more time now, but late game I'm going to be so much faster, and I'll have to make up for it.
Stone Dingley, wasting no time, going straight to Mysidia, going to raise that big whale. Our tracker, little trigger happy there. Already clicked the number 3. but it'll be interesting to see, is he going to just go straight over to Ordeals? There is still the Baron in check that we don't know what is there. And I know I personally have a really bad habit that if I do my grind before having done Baron in, I forget that Baron in exists.
Yep, that is something I'm aware of doing. Fleury choosing not to go and raise the big whale seems to be going straight up Ordeals. We'll see that there's a second Palm available, or Porm available, excuse me. And we do have the option of going to the moon to see who the character up there is. We do have the restrictions of only Edge can only show up in gated character locations, but the lunar dais is a gated character location, so we could get an Edge up there, which would be pretty helpful for getting through Ordeals. Would make it a bit faster, but then you have Edge in your party, who is not necessarily going to be as great compared to some other options.
Yeah. Edge got a noticeable downgrade from group to table. The change in the loot that we're getting means that his high quality ninja swords are not quite as common, and his lack of ability to steal sirens anymore removes him as a guaranteed grind option. He's still very good if you manage to hit on some of these treasure chests or key item checks. Oh, come on, please tell me this is vanilla.
No vanilla.
French vanilla. We have Mylon Zed, the Canadian Scrumleon, moving from the back of the bridge to the front of the bridge. This is cake.
Yep, the difference in stats in this spot does not have very good physical or magical attack spots, so it's about face from his normal position, and he is much less of a threat, doing a paltry 1 damage to Dark Knight Cecil in his vanilla equipment.
In the front row, no less.
Yep, not even...
Now I'm just hoping for musical chairs where we get like a back attack DKC and the Mylon and Friends in the mirror room.
That would be pretty amusing. But here I thought we were voting for Valvalis in that spot. Or in this back attack spot.
Well, the trio... Oh, we get even better! You get the kick around the world. If you've never seen this, that is so fun.
Yeah, they the game never really anticipated karate being in a back attack position, so the karate's kick only goes one way. It only goes to the right, so it has to go some way and hit you. So you have a pretty fast and long kick. I'm impressed it only does double-digit damage to these characters.
Well, I mean, there's air resistance when you have to go all the way around the world. It definitely just gets slowed down by the time it reaches you.
That does sound like a bit of a drag.
I am also preferential to the back attack Zentetsuken. Postmorpheus in chat pointed out. Odin in this spot, I just love seeing Odin go all the way around the world to just completely obliterate your party.
It's a real shocking moment when he goes and hits you from behind, for sure.
And let's hope it's not too shocking, because otherwise the fight would be over.
Yeah. Thunderbolt and Lightning is very, very threatening to that poor Odin.
Galileo.
Magnifico. And speaking of Magnifico, Fleury is through that karate fight while Stone Dingley is still getting through it, but not a very harsh ordeal so far. Not going to go and keep these runners out. Fleury going straight in without saving afterwards. And did go and manage to skip the crumble by counting damage and using a kamikaze. If you use a kamikaze on a boss that crumbles, like you see on Stone Dingley's side, you actually skip the crumble, which is about 30 seconds.
I didn't know that.
Oh my!
Oh, we're in go no, yeah, yep. Go mode.
Yeah, we got go mode.
Yeah, yeah. There will not be a 10 key item grind as soon as our runners get off of here. Okay, there's one of them. This won't be bad, but this is still funny.
Get your ha-has out if you have... Oh, this is Golbez. He laughs at you every single chance he gets, because what does he do? Well, he laughs at you to start the fight, summons a dragon, and kills you down to 2 characters. Which means... Oh, also, you can't hurt him until he does that. He's not interested in playing fair. He just likes laughing in your face and bringing you down to 2 characters first, and then starting the fight.
You know, I have to wonder, would Golbez, like his initial form, would that be vulnerable to Upco?
That is a good question. I suppose yes, because I do believe, unless I'm mistaken, in the vanilla speed run, the no credits warp speed run, where you go and use the 64 floor glitch to go through, pick up Fasoya, change the spell list slightly, get Upco, and go to the Zeromus fight. I don't know if you have to use the crystal to go and actually use Upco to win, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember. I'm in the process of learning that run, and I've not quite made it that far in my learning. So you don't use the crystal. Oh, it would work probably then. Cool.
Yeah. And Fleury's through the fight already. Only 1,000 HP here, so the most dangerous thing is the fact that he really likes laughing at you and doesn't really have a great reason to justify laughing at you because he's not that strong here.
All right. At this point, we are down to party choices and grind efficiency to really kind of separate these two runners. What the runners need to do now is they need to get through that hook route, smack Yang with the pan, go turn it into Sheila, and they also need to complete both bosses in the Giant of Babel. Once those are done, they will get their crystal. They already have a darkness crystal, so they'll have access to Zeromus. What would make this very funny is if one of the Sheila checks or the pan check itself is the pass.
Yes. That would be pretty amusing. Also, it would be amusing if Baron didn't have the magma key, just because it could.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because at this point, it's got to be on our runners' minds that they could just completely fade the Baron in because they no longer need anything that's there. But it could be the magma key, or it could be the pass, which could save you a couple minutes of having to dive the LST once you've got your crystal in hand.
Yes. Here's an extra bit of something for this. Add in having either Valvalis or Wyvern at the King Queen Emblem spot because they cannot gate the logical path underground. If you see one of those bosses there, you know there is a magma key in place somewhere on Earth or somewhere on the overworld.
Yep. And with Demus having already been located, that would point either towards Baronin or Zot.
Yes. But I have a suspicion that Fleury is going to be going and checking the moon character to see who is on the moon, and then choose their party from there. They are in a slightly awkward position as they have 3 characters, but one of those characters is level 1, and one of the considerations you want to have for this randomizer is who can I slingshot? Because characters who are more than 5 levels behind the median party level, when you have 5 party members, will get double experience until they stop being 5 levels behind the party. Normally this means it's 1 or 2 fights and okay, you can go and this character is caught up a bit. But if you do a D-Machine grind where you're getting all of your experience in 1 fight, you can take 2 characters and get them all the way up to Zeromus ready levels and half the amount of experience they normally need. And when you're doing things like reflex strats, that is very helpful.
Yeah, this is a case where that level 1 Cecil, because it's all based around your median party level, if you pick up basically anybody else, Cecil is going to be one of the 2 characters that will be eligible for the slingshot. Unless you take a second Cecil, you don't necessarily want that because you're going to want your Cecil to be low, so you're kind of wasting a slingshot spot. Oh, hello, more Edwards. Sabaka, how are you feeling about that Porum now?
You know, I'm feeling like Double Porum is probably going to be doing some level of work today. Though I am... it is very awkward just because you would love to get those Porum slingshotted because Porum has, as I've said, rather weak HP and magic growth. But if you want to take your Palom all the way up to Nuke, Porum's still getting double experience, so if you could slingshot 2 Porums, you could bring Porum up to an almost acceptable level of HP for his Zeromus fight.
Did anybody catch what level our Palums are at?
Palom is around level 16 or so. He was 15 going into Ordeals. That Cecil's actually a bit of a problem just because he's level 1. If every character except for Edge and Sid is going to join the party at level 10. Okay. Ooh, and we are taking second Cecil. Fleury is...
Fleury purchased an Ogre X, I believe. So is planning on using Cecil for just the physical damage that he can pump out after being slingshot with an Ogre X.
Very interesting, and does have an extra kamikaze, so it's not too hard for second Cecil to go and stay down, hold the drain sword, and be at 8 agility, which is a low enough agility to be easy to make the rest of the team pretty high agility when you're at high levels. And Fleury is finding ethers, very important for this D Machine grind because you rely on Tella. One of the things that Tella needs to do is cast Weak, which casts 25 MP. Doesn't sound like a lot, but Tella also only has 90 MP, so you're going to want to go and be getting as much value out of this as possible.
Also stocking up on some Star Veils. I believe Fleury used all 3 of his in that Golbez fight just to make sure that no matter who Golbez targeted, that he would be able to get through it. Dingley coming in is going to grab the double Porum, so slight variation in the strats here. Fleury grabs a Porum in a second Cecil. Dingley goes, nah, give me 2 white mages.
Yep, so what this means is Dingley is... I wouldn't be surprised to see Dingley go and keep their Cecil down, but it also means they're going to have very weak options for physical attack. Meanwhile, Fleury has the option of going and either having 2 Cecils and dealing with vanilla agility, or they're going to be going and having 1 Cecil fight, 1 Cecil anchor, and have 2 casters who are pretty well prepared.
Yeah. For anyone curious, with the Palom being at level 18 on Fleury's side at least, that is going to require 22 D machines to get all the way to nuke, not counting life glitches. And then, honestly, I think over on Dingley's side, I think because your median character is 10 and the other character is also 10, you're not going to get a slingshot on that other character. Which means that you're going to have to go through the full amount to get 2 white on those Porums, which is going to be also 22.
Yep. Porum is not in a position to be slingshotted. Well, Dingley is finding the Mad Ogre chest very quickly and is finding these characters are going down very quickly as well. But Fleury we see walking around outside of Baron. Zoe, why would Fleury walk around outside of Baron? I thought we said they were going to do a D Machine grind.
Yeah, so this may be a bit weird. If you've been tuning in for this tournament, it's definitely something that you're familiar with. When this tournament was being set up, our lovely tournament organizers were trying to remove the viability of the D Machine grind because it is incredibly efficient, and if you can pull it off, if you get the required setup, it is your best grind to get people to Z levels, especially through slingshots. But the initial method kind of requires you to be able to run from fights. The step chart that we use says basically get to the square, run away from the fight, and then that tells you how many more fights you have to run away from before you get it. So we have the E can't run flag on. That means we can't run away from fights, which means those fights on the giant are very, very dangerous and will punch you before you can even manage to beat them. Because you go in at low levels for a D Machine grind. But the Free Enterprise community is nothing if not resourceful. And through the combined work of Simbu and Twisted Flax, we have a new guide which will allow us to determine what RNG seed we're on for the encounter table, and we can figure that out outside of Baron. So we don't have to run away from anything.
Yes, then you just go and take fights until you advance to the desired location on the encounter table, and then you can go and make it so your next fight in the giant, when you're in the specific floor, when you turn back on encounters, is the D Machine grind.
which it looks like Fleury has gotten the proper setup for. So he is in the giant, doing his D-Machine grind, and then, you're on the giant. Complete the giant is already one of your objectives. After this grind is done, I imagine we'll see him go straight to the element spot after dropping a safety save to go ahead and get these 2 boss fights underway.
Yeah, and speaking of setting up, looks like Stone Dingley did a bit of extra setting up by taking 1 trap chest in Castle Eblin and both his forums going down. He got enough experience on his Cecil to make his Cecil level 18, which will allow the forums to be slingshotted.
Very, very heads up there. That makes both forums only require 11 D machines, roughly. There's some rounding in my calculator that I don't account for. That Palom is still going to likely need the full 22, but if you want to get that Palamoid to nuke, forms are going to get slingshot through the roof, and we'll have plenty of hit points to make up for her less than stellar HP growth.
Yes, that'll definitely go and be a significant boon, because poor Palom, when he has nuke, is pretty safe for big bangs if you see more than one. Forums, when they see nuke or see white, are a lot less safe. They are at somewhere around 16 to 1700 HP, while Palom is close to 2000.
We will almost definitely see both these forums have well over 2000 hit points.
Oh yeah, that's on Dingley's side, their forum. Dingley's going to go and have some very, very strong forums, but might go and be leaving their Cecil low, or they're going to have their Cecil gain levels, but they're going to be really have a hard time with some fights, because if you deal with a fast spot, you are not going to be able to go and anchor a high level Cecil at all. But we do see Fleury going and getting through the beamer fight, going and taking out the first beamer, and yeah, this first part is it's a little slow, but Tella is ready to go, and it looks like we're getting close to starting this grind for Fleury.
Yep, and we got to see a little bit of a fun interaction with how the beamers deal with lightning damage. They get hit with lightning damage, they get a little confused, and they start beaming other enemies. So hit that searcher for 550 damage.
Yeah, that is it's very interesting. That beam attack does 10% of the target's max HP as damage, so that alert has 5,500 max HP. It's a number that I was not actually that familiar with, so it's pretty helpful to know.
Also 550 HP that in some grinds you definitely want back, because yeah, that was a 546 crit right there. You got to start being careful of how much damage you're doing to the searcher if you're trying to summon like 12 D machines throughout the course of this encounter.
Yeah, that is something I am more than happy to go and use Thor Rages for, because searchers do have very high magic defense, and they will not go and take any appreciable damage from Lit 1. They'll actually only take 1 point of damage from Lit 1.
Dancing Dagger is also good. Even the rods that Palom and Iridia start with can be used in combat to hit with 100% accuracy for 1 damage on these searchers.
Yeah, and chat pointing out on the Stone Dingley side, Tella is not in the middle. What is why would that be an issue, Zoe?
So Tella has very weak magic stats, both wisdom and will, and that stat is what determines not only the strength of your spells, but also your accuracy. And you kind of want as much accuracy as you can, and that middle slot provides a 25% bonus to accuracy. So putting Tella in the middle slot really kind of makes up for some of that and allows his weaks to hit more consistently, because while the D-Machine grind is very stable in most cases, if you miss a weak cast, not only have you wasted 25 MP, but you've also given this D-Machine a full round to just cast fire on your party. This is normally a very safe grind, because as long as you don't hit the D-Machine directly before the killing blow, all of his attacks, being fire, is just going to be HP based. But if you get enough of those in a row, it doesn't matter.
Yes, and if you go in if you attack the D machine and don't kill it, it counterattacks with a punch. If a D machine punches someone on your team, they are probably going down. If that person is Tella, that is not what you want to see. I feel like I just predicted something bad for Dingley. Okay. He hit with a weak. He just mistimed the life one and the attack. So what we're doing with this is why we're throwing life potions is because there is a glitch in Final Fantasy IV called the life glitch. If you throw a life potion on a monster, it will revive and die instantly because the life spell works by giving you, after it's cast on you, it gives you HP equal to your vitality stat times 5. Well, monsters have a vitality stat of 0, but you still see the spell animate, so it tries to revive, revives it, and then it sees, oh, you have 0 HP, you're dead, and gives you credit for another kill.
Yeah, exactly. It's very useful, and with a Palom in the party, if you're using Ice 2, you can buffer in multiple life potions or life spells, and that will allow you to even get triple, or sometimes, if you're really well set up, quadruple the experience from a single enemy. Chat pointed out something kind of interesting on Dingley's side here. Had queued up a virus on one of the beamers, and then its HP ran out from a previous virus. So that virus hit the Searcher. So this Searcher's HP right now is actually ticking away from a sap effect, which means that Dingley is on a timer here. It does take away fairly slowly, but with as long as he's not doing a ton of damage to some of these D machines, it should be fine. But if he starts hitting for, 400 or 500 every time he summons, that could be bad.
Yeah, and it looks like Dingley's grind is not going as well as they would like, just because the characters are going down. They need to do a lot of healing. They are losing a number of turns to this and not getting a lot of life glitches off. This grind, we call it safe. It's easy for it to go and thought to be routine, but there's a lot of details and and shift things slightly that make it very awkward to do sometimes, like not having your Tella in the correct slot, having a different agility, because Cecil is leveled and is in the party. We are playing on vanilla agility. Your turn order is much less predictable when you have a high-speed anchor where some of your characters are at varying speeds.
Oh, and summoned this D machine, but didn't have the MP on Tella to cast the weak. Has to use an Ether 1 and go through another cycle. Luckily, everyone does have a decent amount of HP, so this shouldn't be catastrophic. But a bit of a mistake there that is going to be recoverable. But
yes, that's another easy mistake to make. Go just get into the rhythm. Summon the D machine, cast weak, queue up the attack to kill, start again. What's Tella's MP? Oh, he doesn't have enough MP to hit, and he missed.
He missed a weak.
Ooh.
Very good that Dingley had not yet queued up the killing blow, because that could have been very bad. But yeah, Dingley's grind is a bit off the rails here. This fight, while like Baka said, while I say that it's fairly safe for experienced runners, it can still go off the rails. Agility can cause people to jump the queue. You can just have bad misses if Tella's not in the middle slot. Yeah, that's... As someone who has gone and had some very sloppy grinds recently, I feel this for Dingley, and it is... Fleury has had a very clean and efficient grind. He's had minimal downtime. He has been going and just constantly summoning D machines, getting them off, going and getting weeks out, and taking them down back to back to back. There is not much going wrong for Fleury at all. They are going to be getting out of their grind. I would not be surprised to see them ending in the next 5 minutes or so, just because of how smoothly things have been going for them. Dingley, on the other hand, I think they are likely to be going and being in this fight for a fair bit longer. Especially if things don't start coming together a bit, eating a lot of fires. Luckily that that we managed to hit. Going to queue up an Ice 2 here. Because of the casting of Ice 2 and a Fire cast from the D Machine, you can typically try and buffer out 2 life potions, but with 2 Porums down, just going to go for the single here.
Yeah, an important thing for that is it comes back to agility shenanigans, where the order of your characters matters if they have actions queued up or have attacks queued up. If you have all of your characters with actions queued after the enemy's turn goes, it'll go starting in the middle, from middle to top to bottom, middle top to middle bottom, in that order, and process their actions. And why this is important is because we saw in the first round, Cecil threw a life potion and then Palom cast an Ice 2. That Palom probably had their Ice 2 queued up and ready to cast first, but Cecil also went and had an action queued up before the enemy finished all their actions. This lets Cecil functionally jumping turn order, and he threw his life potion before Dingley wanted him to. That is another thing that makes these Ice 2 delays kind of tricky to deal with, but as Zoe mentioned before, you can get quadruple experience off that if you go and have Telecast weak, Palom cast Ice 2, and then your other 3 characters all manage to queue up life potions in the time between the Ice 2 getting queued and it going off.
Harkening back to an earlier conversation, agility is witchcraft.
Look, it's worse than witchcraft. It's math.
Mathemagic.
I'm not going to deny that.
Fleury's done.
Yep, Fleury's killing off the Cecil, and is going to be killing off this Searcher now.
Yep, as the weak out, just going with the Dancing Dagger should do more than 9 damage, and there we go.
Yep, that was 1 million experience. That Porum is definitely at white. That Palom is definitely at nuke. They both need 900,000 experience to get those spells.
What is this Cecil? I'm gonna go look. What is the Cecil gonna be at?
I'm guessing. Oh, he gained 58 levels. He is level 63 because he started this grind at level 5.
Oh, that's a yeah. Yeah, he's gonna have over 4,000 hit points.
So who here is ready for Ogopogo at Elements?
Pick me. Pick me.
I'm the one you want. Yes, Ogopogo is probably the worst thing you could find there because he also does HP based damage, only it's based on your character's HP, and that could be kind of rude.
Yeah, Kainatsu is still in the pool, so a Kainatsu Elements is still possible, but according to my reference chart, I think even a full health Kainatsu wave at Elements is not going to kill this 4.6 thousand HP Cecil. But yeah, it maxes out at 3,900 damage, so.
Darn. Well, they'll just barely survive. Ooh, and it's French Vanilla.
French Vanilla. This is not hard, but this is obnoxious.
This is a little ugly. So you have a bunch of mages. One of the things those mages are great at is doing large amounts of damage to things that don't have wall up.
So there's 2 things I want to point out here. One is float strats. The other is you could just orb grind this with Quake if you want some more experience.
Zoe, why use Quake when you can use Meteo?
Because you can get more, you can kill more orbs with Quake because the CPU won't die as fast.
I mean, with that 6,500 remedy, I don't think that if you let that remedy go off, you're going to be spending a long time killing this orb no matter what.
Yeah, but that's the point of a grind.
I think we're supposed to be grinding through the CPU's HP, not our own.
I mean, that's fair. All I'm saying is that each one of these orbs that gets killed is worth 50,000 experience, so that's more than a D machine.
That it is. But I believe Fleury did manage to get the float off on the attacker node, which is who you want to go get your floats off on, because if you cast Quake, the CPU looks like it's floating. It's really not. It's apparently just rolling on the ground and just rolling back and forth. As it is not a floating enemy, it is not weak to does not take additional damage from air elemental weapons, but you can hit it with Quake. And Entidel pointing out in chat that there's 8,667 HP on the small orbs, by the way. If you're noticing that the CPU is only getting healed for 6,500, that's because the maximum HP anything can have is 65,000. And Remedy heals for 10% of their HP. Usually you can go and use that number to determine that that's how much health the orbs have. Not today.
Yep, not today. This spot, when there's multiple units, that HP pool gets divvied up a bit more complicated. But if you see just a single boss here, we go, yeah, it's 65,000 hit points. There's more than that. It's like, it's more than that.
Yeah. The moral of the story is the element spot is real beefy. And we see this Quake starting as Porum goes and casts White on that CPU node.
This is also the fastest spot in the game by a pretty wide margin.
If Stone Dingley goes and levels up their Cecil, this is going to be a very rude fight for Stone Dingley, because they have two Porums who they're going to be taking to some very high experience, but not going to go and be really able to do a lot unless you blindly reflect Whites onto the CPU and just throw out as much damage as you can, and then accept that the orbs are going to be reviving.
Yeah, this spot with 89 agility even trumps Zeromus' speed. So if you don't come here with a really strong anchor, it's probably going to be RA1. You're probably not going to be, and having to maybe kill the orbs to get through it can mean that you're taking a lot of Globe 199s.
Yeah, that's not going to be a fun fight. But thankfully, all the damage you're taking in this fight, if you only, shall we say, deal damage to the orbs, to the CPU, rather than the orbs, and avoid the Globe 199s, will be 10% of each of the characters' maximum HP. That's why no one is getting hit with any uneven amount of damage. They're just all taking reasonable amounts of damage and having their health go down kind of slowly.
Yeah, CPU is a fairly safe fight in that regard. That is also why I started this off with saying this is obnoxious more than dangerous.
Yes, this boss is... It requires you to make a mistake for it to really be able to kill you. But there are mistakes that can be made, or you can go and just, as one of our community members, PK4787 says, is use YOLO strats and just throw out damage, hope it hits, and, you might be fine.
You might be.
Very likely to just simply go and get killed.
Now, what do we want to see at CPU? If we want to be really rude, that spot is tied with the Bahamut spot and the Leviathan spot for the highest physical attack in the game. Doesn't have as much HP as this spot, but what do we think could be there that could maybe not really threaten these parties at this point, but make for an entertaining watch?
Odin could still be pretty dangerous because Odin punches and Odin goes and does high magic damage with that Zentetsuken attack. You're going to need to go and you're going to need to chew through all the HP before Zentetsuken comes out, and that's going to be kind of scary for Stone Dingley, as they did not anchor with their Cecil. Their Cecil is gaining levels.
Oh boy. This is interesting.
Stone Dingley is going to have a pretty rude time with this, I think, because they are not going to go and have the agility equivalents that Fleury has, and Fleury has just killed the CPU, and now needs to finish off this attacker node to finish this fight.
I kind of at this point just expect Stone Dingley to go into the CPU fight with yellow strats, zerk up the Cecil, start casting Quakes or Meteos, and battle of attrition with the Globe 199.
Yeah, or put a wall up on someone and just start reflecting whites and nukes.
And Fleury is through.
Yeah, and Stone Dingley has some very high level forums. Level 50 Palom, level 50 on Palom, which means Palom does not have nuke. Palom only has Meteo.
Well, if you go YOLO strats here, you can get some extra orb kills, and you can probably get to nuke. Sorry, I'm just a really big fan of the CPU and Maga Sisters grind. I programmed it into my calculator for a reason.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Stone Dingley go for yellow strats. Also, Stone Dingley is tenting, which you do get full heals for the elements fight, so this is not entirely necessary unless you plan on taking other fights somewhere else. But as Stone Dingley is starting their CPU fight, while Fleury is going and going to see who the CPU boss is. Ooh, Baigan.
Oh, okay. This is kind of rude.
No, this hurts a lot. This is kind of rude, and then there's Cecil in the front row took 2,000 damage. This is gonna hurt.
Tella got overkilled by more than his max hit points.
I think pretty much everyone here is cool. Forum taking.
Oh.
Ooh. You know, I thought that Odin would be really. Baigan is proving how rude he is. Baigan is a terribly mean boss who, yeah, Quake will go and take down his arms, and then with Baigan's next turn, he's going to go and revive those arms. And he also punches pretty hard. This team is going to be in very precarious position to get through this.
In chat pointing out, typically when we see Baigan, we're not super concerned about the vampire coming from the arms. That vampire did 960 damage. That's a hefty vampire.
Yeah, I think Fleury's resetting this fight and starting again. Yep.
Yeah. Oh boy. This is...
I think we're going to see some cover strats from Cecil.
Yeah, put Cecil in the back row. When someone gets bopped, just life them up and... Cool.
Yeah, Blink is usually one of the things you want to go and use, but yeah, throwing on that heavy armor, going and putting Cecil in the back row, probably going to have them cover Palom for their first action, or Porum so that the White Mage stays alive, and then just carefully go and get through this fight. And you never feel good taking a wipe when our runners are in go mode. They know all they have to do is get through these fights, the much more easy hook fight, and then the just turn in the pan.
Fleury, you put your Cecil in the back row, and then you zerk him. Cover strats are off the table.
Fleury's decided that, well, they're going to try Blink strats, see if they can go and knock down those arms. Cecil's only taking a few hundred points of damage rather than several thousand. That is a big improvement. Hoping that you're going to go and be able to survive the damage.
Yeah, Gambit, I am very proud of this seed, because this is something that I would roll. A very jetty seed with a gigantic troll in the middle.
Yeah, this giant, the worst feeling is going to be if Pan really does go and give you an X-Scale, give you the Animate and Legend from just turning it in. Or if Sheila 1 has it.
That would just... It would be, I didn't even have to do that giant. Bye.
It would be true panic-inducing and glorious.
Or if we get one piece from Sheila 1 or Sheila 2, and then in the spoiler log, we see the other piece was sitting at Baron Inn.
Oh, that would be cruel. But Fleury did get through it. The spot only has around 30-ish thousand HP, so it's not... There are worse things to go and get from this. And meanwhile, we see a Stone Dingley is going and casting whites on the CPU nodes and Life 2 on Palom to avoid having to deal with the Mazer killing him immediately as they come up. Would you like a punch mage, Zoe?
I would have liked the slingshot one. At this point, I can't take it.
Yang being the character in the giant,
How'd he get up here?
I don't know. They must have lost their way.
Okay, so now I'm just thinking like Shadow the Colossus style gang, just like scaling up the giant of Babel.
Yang was trying to destroy the super cannon and just kept climbing until they found the giant.
Yeah, just got to the top of the Tower of Babel and just went, oh, hey, look, you can jump from here.
Yeah, that's a unique place for Yang. Unless the super cannon went and sent him to a very different location today.
It's like Team Rocket just blasting off again and just landed on the giant of Babel. But enough jokes. Fleury is now going to dive this hook route. We know there's Antlion at the Ruby spot. We don't know who's at King Queen. It would be a very interesting twist if this was Valvalis or Wyvern, just because we know that then there would be a Baron key, a Magma key available. But
yep.
Even if it is one of those two, Fleury's just gonna chew right through it.
Yeah, when you have Nuke and White and a very high level Cecil, you're probably not going to go and have much to worry about when you also have a low level Cecil to anchor with. Unfortunately, a Stone Dingley did have to take a reset on their CPU fight and are going back into it. This is... I would have chosen a Stone Dingley's party, probably, because I really like mages and reflex strats for Zeromus.
Likewise. I kind of feel a little bad for Commentator Curse at the beginning of this was talking about vanilla agility, where if you level up your Cecil and there's a really awkward fight at elements, that could be bad. And there's a really awkward fight at elements, and Dingley leveled up his Cecil.
Yeah, that Fleury made the safety play. He went and sacrificed a bit of his Zeromus fight and the ability to slingshot for him at all, for having two Cecils to guarantee having a safe anchor, and it is paying off serious dividends. He does not have a good weapon for Cecil. His best weapon for Cecil is an Ice Brand, which, well, that's a weapon you use in the vanilla game when you're here at level 20-something.
Yeah,
maybe level 30.
Not power overwhelming. It'll be a slow Zeromus fight, but with these levels and HP totals, it'll likely be a very safe one. Oh, yeah, cutscene.
Yeah, and speaking of safe, this is the Dr. Luge fight. This is also rather safe. Also, I'm rather curious as to what level 5 Cecil's agility is.
I can find out.
Because I remember the vanilla agility for level 1 Cecil is 13. Give him a Dwarf Axe or a Drain Sword, he goes down to 8, which is a pretty manageable number.
14, he gains his first agility point at level 5.
Alright, so behold the awful truth of agility. It's all math. To be the... As we've alluded to, there's a maximum speed you can be, or more to the point, there's a maximum number of turns you can get over the agility anchor. The agility anchor will always get their turn once every 5 ATB ticks. The other characters will go and get turns based on what the anchor's agility is. If it is higher than the anchor, they will take fewer ATB ticks for them to get a turn. Conversely, if it's lower, it will take more ATB ticks. The cap for how much faster a character in combat can be compared to the anchor is 5 times faster. 1 ATB tick for 1 turn. To get to that point, you have to be more than 2.5 times the agility of the anchor. If Cecil is at 8 agility, that means that you need to be at 21 or higher agility. If Cecil is at 9 agility, I believe you need to be at 24 or higher agility.
Yep, that's correct. And at a vanilla level 5, so no Dwarf Axe or Drain Sword, you would need to be at 36 or more agility to be RA1.
That is a bit of an ask.
Yeah, most parties going into Zeromus will not have access to 36 except for on something like a cane or an edge. But with a Drain Sword, only needing that 21 or 21 or 26, it makes it much more manageable for even your mages to get there.
Yes.
Also, we're being corrected for the math. You need 23 for a 9 anchor. Math is hard, y'all.
Well, I believe the math is it rounds up, so it'd be times 2 is 18, 9 divided by 2 is 4.5, round up to 5, 23. It needs to be over that, so you need to be 24 to be relative agility 1.
Oh yeah, pretty much all of the SNES. No, I thought the SNES rounds down because that's how odd HP works on HP based attacks.
I think a lot of HP attacks actually go and just take your first your X number of digits. But that does come down to the rounding, where it's either 23 or 24 agility. 24 is a more conservative assumption. 23 is if it doesn't round down. But Fleury is through that antlion as we were talking about agility. Not a very long fight for Fleury, but also a rather long discussion on agility. But Fleury is now in striking distance of finishing the seed, as Fleury is going to be able to go run down to the bottom of Sylph Cave, hit Young with the pan, go back to Fabul, turn in that pan to Sheila, and they will have completed objective number 4 and will be getting their crystal. And meanwhile, Stone Dingley is still working their way through this CPU fight. It's looking really grim for Stone Dingley, unfortunately.
Yep. At this point, Fleury has a very clear advantage, has a straight shot to Zeromus. This party is well set up. It's going to be, as I mentioned before, a bit of a lengthy fight because you don't have the amount of casters you want for pure reflex strats. You don't have power overwhelming on this Cecil, but you'll get a steady amount of damage out and can then take it straight to the win with these HP totals. So unless something happens on Fleury's side, a couple of big Z wipes, Stone Dingley's time here with us might be coming to an end.
Yeah, this is such a heartbreak for Stone Dingley because, as we've said, I like Stone Dingley's team better for the Zeromus fight, and there's a rather narrow pool of fights where the mage team is going to go and actively struggle. Valvalis is one fight where it'd go and be, okay, you have Cecil, you have to rely on them to go and do all the damage. Ogopogo could be annoying, but you can use reflex strats to try and go and avoid some of the worst of it. Otherwise, there's very few other fights that are actively more difficult to get through with just this mage team, but Stone Dingley did get through the CPU node and is just going and attacking the attacker node now, so almost through this first fight, and will be getting ready to get into the second fight with Baigan as Fleury is turning in the Sheila 1 check and turning in the pan to go and get their crystal and finish off objective number 4.
Yep, we had a French vanilla spoon there, getting a crystal. We'll see what the second item is. And then, for the benefit of anyone watching this VOD later, oh my gosh, Legend Sword, I swear if Adamant's at Baronin. Just to briefly continue the agility conversation, the math is that it does round down after doing all of the division. So for a 9 agility anchor, having 23 would be sufficient.
So that is a very important number because it is some characters gain agility very slowly. And we see Fleury taking their crystal, going to their big whale, and just going to go straight back up to the moon and walk through the entire lunar subterrane.
At this point, I'm just excited to see this spoiler roll. I don't know where the adamant is.
If there's a magma key at Baron Inn or an adamant at Baron Inn, that goes, and it's easy to go and say this could have been a different race, but it is such a narrow ask for those two things, even if it is one of those two options.
Yeah. Adamant in the Fey March free chest could also be interesting, but I think both runners went with the mathematically correct call. Do your grind, you're already on the giant, take out the giant, even if both bosses are kind of rude for their given locations. I think this was absolutely the correct play, and ultimately it came down to a bit of party comp and deciding whether or not to level that Cecil.
Yeah, it's that vanilla agility flag rearing its ugly head with a forced Cecil start. It is Fleury chose the option that mitigated the downsides of vanilla agility, while Stone Dingley chose the option that granted him the most powerful team. And in this seed, the mitigating the downsides of the agility turned out to be the stronger play.
Dingley reflecting some whites here, showing that a reflected spell will get through Baigan's wall. Very, very useful, very common technique you'll see. Should be through this fight here relatively soon, and then we'll be going to turn in his pan a little bit too late to make this much of a race unless Fleury takes some wipes, but still very valiant. That giant is no joke. That would have taken a lot of our best runners and really thrown a wrench in their plans.
Yeah, that is definitely... It comes down to, as we said, the party comp and just some small decisions. And I don't believe Stone Dingley took a wipe on the Baigan, so that even went and gave them some time back compared to Fleury. It's just the CPU and the grind really stole time from Dingley, and Fleury is definitely able to capitalize that. These are the top 8 runners in the community at the moment, so this is not something to go and say this was any form of disgrace. This is just small decisions, and small inefficiencies can really add up. And against runners of these calibers, it is so scary to ever have any wipe. I imagine we're going to hear Fleury say they were nervous when they took a wipe because they took a wipe to Baigan.
Yeah. At this stage of the tournament, we're in our quarterfinals. This are the top 8 runners of this tournament. Any one small mistake you think is going to be what does you in. Fleury is frantically heading to the Zeromus fight. Is probably expecting that dot done to come in any second, just because of that one very brief, probably 1 minute time loss taken by that wipe. You don't want to give your opponent an inch.
Oh yeah. But speaking of giving your opponent something, our chat's giving us a lot of something. A lot of flags coming out in chat. A lot of Z flags, it seems.
You know, normally I have a couple different jokes I cycle through here. I can't really figure out which one I want to use, so I'm just going to keep talking for a few moments until Fleury pulls up this item menu and goes to use the crystal, because we're not going to see your typical Zeromus sprite here, unless it's vanilla on Gambit. So whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
Yes, whose of the 450 different butts rendered by Scala-Kitty and Boardface? Scala-Kitty definitely going in, the resident art director going in doing a lot of the work, but Board going in bringing some of their own. Let's see who we're getting tonight.
The lovely Zeromus.
Is this from Super Mario 1000 Year Door?
I'm going to plead the fifth to that one, because I feel like if I give my response to that chat is going to go into an outrage.
Okay, because I've never played that game, and I'm just trying to go off my memory of seeing this.
Oh, good.
Right,
you said it first. I've yet to play through 1000 Year Door, so I had no idea. Chat is saying yes, though.
Thank you, chat. Ooh, that's rather unfortunate for Fleury. The counter nuke hitting Porum and doing 2,200 damage.
Oh, just a little bit too much.
That counter nuke can go and be a lot softer than that, but not today. Counter nuke is more than happy to go and just completely wreck that poor Porum. But meanwhile, Stone Dingley is getting into the Lugia fight, so making progress in that hook route. Not too far away from getting to Zeromus, but definitely noticeably far away. It's going to rely on Fleury taking a wipe to go and be in a position to take first in this race.
Yep, the first Big Bang comes out. Well, Tella technically survived, but then we're going to see the very annoying and time-wasting HP ran out text.
One of the few times when you'd rather say, no, roll 8 higher, roll 8 higher.
Just a little more damage, please.
Just do the whole job. Don't go and go part way. But Hallam going and throwing out a nice quad 9 nuke. That is definitely the amount you want to see. And Fleury is resurrecting Tella. I have a suspicion that we're going to see Tella throw out a couple healing spells before this next Big Bang, or at least one Cure 4.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see a Cure 4 come out. Looks like Fleury, even with only having the 2 casters, is going a more pure Reflect strats here, using Cecil as more of a chemist. Before the fight's over, would you want to explain maybe what Reflect strats do and why they're advantageous?
Certainly. So, Zeromus has 61,000 HP, but he kind of likes to cheat it up a bit, where after you do 45,000 damage to Zeromus, he will go, with the next time you do an instance of direct damage to him, hit 4, he will go and refill his HP up to maximum of 61,000. But if you reflect spells, you bypass counters. That's why when you threw one spell at him, we got a counter nuke, but when we keep throwing spells at him, we don't get any counter nukes. And
I'm gonna cut you short.
That,
because ouch.
That
Big Bang rolled a bit high and took out the 2 remaining mages. This is still recoverable. Porum can get some people up. Seeing some desperation run buffers to try and get this fight recovered.
Yeah, this is not what you want to see. That Big Bang caps out at around 24 to 2,700 points of damage. And usually Magic Defense or Magic Evade goes and helps keep your runners up, your casters up. Did not get any Magic Evade rolls on that Porum, that Palom, it seems. Porum also didn't have any good rolls either, but was also at lower HP.
Yeah, got them both back up, got them into range that they might survive an unnerfed if it's a bit of a low roll. Gonna toss out a few more Cure 2s. But to finish up your explanation briefly, if you chew through all 61,000 hit points without dealing a direct attack after the 45,000 hit point mark, you will just kill Zeromus outright, never reaching phase 2.
Ow!
Oh, gosh.
Zeromus is rude.
Dingley is now through the hook route and will be turning in the pan. So if Fleury takes a late wipe here, Dingley's basically might only be an LST dive down to Zeromus behind.
If Fleury saved, I don't know if Fleury saved at the final save point. Did you catch that?
I did not. He might have swag walked just because he felt behind. We might have a race if this goes off the rails.
Yeah, this is it is. So a note about damage rolls, or damage in general. What we refer to, the reason why I said Big Bang is somewhere between 24 and 2,700 damage is because Zeromus shifts their spell power. When you get a counter nuke, it shifts down low. That's how we go and make it so that the first Big Bang only does 1,000 damage at most to these characters, or around 1,000 damage. But throughout the script, Zeromus will go and change their magic tower, and spells go and do either their base roll or up to 1.5 times that base damage. And if you get no evades, which Porum is succeeding in not getting any evades, or Palom goes and just takes the maximum damage on the rolls and evades nothing, you're going to keep seeing those 2,000 damage numbers. But Fleury has crawled their way through this fight that was determined to kill him, clinches this race, with an official time of 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 42 seconds. GG's to Fleury. You earned it. This Zeromus was out for you today.
Yeah. Pulled it off there. That slightly low roll on the Palom managed to allow him to get the nuke off and get the kill. And with that, Fleury will be I believe the first of our racers of these quarterfinals to punch his ticket into these semifinals. Now just 5 wins away from potentially taking the highway to the Threemus Zone Championship. And we are joined by Fleury. 2 things. GG's, and how high is your heart rate right now?
So chat, watch this spoiler log.
Oh no!
So
we've been talking about this, and there's 2 locations I think the adamant could be that would make you say that.
So before we get to that, actually was okay. I was more upset at Gambit's character selection. Thanks. Like Porms and Edwards as far as the eye could see, and I'm like, well, I take second Paladin, and that's great, but because I just got level 1 Paladin, I can't slingshot any of my mages, so I have to do 11 times 2, oh boy, and then rely on Porm. That's never fun, as you kind of saw. Or take, double Porm, but then if somebody really rude shows up at really the CPU spot, the element spot I wasn't quite as worried about. And sure enough, Baigan's there. Like, you don't want to have agility issues when that dude's taken 3 turns. So yeah, that was like annoying. The Z fight, it was fine. Like, with Cecil with 4,500 on battle speed 3, close enough to RA1 at the very least. If my mages don't get any evasion rolls, and guess what, they didn't, I'll always be able to get a life pot and a cure 4 up, and that'll be fine. So I knew it was going to be slow. I would have liked Palom to at least survive a few. He survived the last one, which ended up working out. Porum apparently was a magic magnet. I know she didn't have any gear, but come on, Porum. One roll would have been nice.
I was more impressed at the fact that your Palom managed to consistently take near max damage rolls.
Yeah, he was taking he had a Sork Robe and a Lilith Rod, and I don't think buff affects the evade rolls. I think that's calculated beforehand, but still, I'm like, he at 2100, he should survive most of these, and no, he did. I watched him take a 2300. I'm like, thanks, game.
Yeah, the board AI definitely was a bit out to get you there. But yeah, so this race is in the books. You've punched your ticket to the quarterfinals, and for chat, I'm going to slightly correct myself here. I've forgotten that because Coffee and Chocobos dropped out of the tournament, Dia has already advanced. So we have our first semifinal matchup. Dia and Fleury, how are you feeling going into that matchup?
It's pretty awesome. I think we have a pretty established rivalry at this point, and to see that present itself in the semifinals of a major tournament is pretty awesome. I always feel like watching the 2 of us race is a really interesting clash of styles, where Dia is super aggressive and I am super not. Dia goes for speed, I go for efficiency. We have a very contrasting style, but it's usually pretty close between us too. So I'm pretty excited about that. And one of us is going to make it to the finals, so that's going to be great too. And yeah, so I'm just thrilled to get through. As nice as making semifinals is, the way this top 16 is, and especially the way the draft kind of went, you could have just as easily said, oh, Dusty's going to choose to pick you first, enjoy 15th place. and it's not like anybody's going to be like, oh, you lost to Dusty, pshaw. The talent for this tournament, the turnout, really from 1 to 100 has been so impressive to see. that it requires, a pretty fair amount of luck to get into 4th place. I'm going to shout out someone. If you would have asked, I think, any one of us who had been running this, is Moonblaze Wolf going to go 0-6? We'd said you lost your mind. But he's really good, and if we run this again, he probably goes 5-1. It's just the talent level is so high here right now that really just making top 4, it's nice, but it also requires a little bit of luck, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, well, you've performed well to make it this far, kind of destroying more than a handful of brackets, mine included. But yeah, it's super exciting. We did see that Adamant was at Zot. That was not one of the 2 locations I was thinking. I was thinking Baron Inn or Feymarch free chest. So yeah, you had the rock in your lap from the get-go. Could have completely bypassed that kind of awkward CPU fight and very punchy Baigan.
Yep, giant not required. Thanks, Gambit. And if we have like a better party, and that's like a little bit of a better boss, I could see there's a few early hook divers out there. One of them is sitting in general chat right now that probably would have done that right away. And I'm like, okay, fine. I would have lost horribly. CPU at Elements, just as far as time goes, like that's awful. And then Baigan, no.
Yeah, we were impressed as to just how trolly those bosses were. Baigan is 960 damage on a vampire is not something you see very often. 2,000 damage on a front row Cecil is also not something you see very often.
Yeah, there's not a lot of worse bosses to see there than him. I'm trying to think of one. Like I've had a what is it? No free bosses, Dark Imps there kind of ruined my day, but that's like more or less that's one of the worst, if not the worst boss you can get there. So yeah.
Yeah, we had been considering like what a trolley option there would be, and we had talked about like Odin, Evil Wall can be kind of spicy there. Baigan hadn't even come to our minds, and then it shows up, and we're like, oh yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, Baigan was definitely the oh yeah, someone's day is ruined. Did you feel? Yeah, I'm curious how you felt after you took the first wipe on the Baigan fight. Was that something that was going in making you very concerned, or were you thinking this whole seed is concerning?
When I saw Baigan, I was expecting to take a wipe. I kind at that point I'm like, all right, I need to adjust my party order for, hey, boss who can kill me quickly, as opposed to me trying to kill the boss very quickly. So Backroad Cecil managed to get some blinks off, and yeah, that kind of took care of that. It was just, I figured, give it a shot, but going into that fight, I was absolutely expecting to wipe.
Very fair, and Baigan there, especially after those first damage rolls, I would very much so expect the same thing.
Yeah, it's not fun. Thankfully, like level 800 Cecil can tank those relatively well.
God, that Cecil, that I am. All right, so this is going to be a bit of a big what if question, but if we didn't have vanilla agility on, would you have taken double Cecil or would you have taken double Porum?
No, I'd have taken double Porum.
Okay.
100%.
I was curious about that, but yeah, that.
There was small consideration to think about, do I want to check the boss first at Elements, just in case? But I very small concern. I think, yeah, if vanilla agility is off, lacking the weapons, maybe you go grab second Cecil and get 2 Ogre Axes, but I think an extra white spell probably does more damage than 2 Ogre Axes.
That makes a lot of sense, and that's definitely something showing off that this vanilla agility flag is going and causing a lot of interesting challenges for our runners. So thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah,
Also,
it's one of those where like as nice as Tella is, like having a Tella and a starting Cecil is a really good way to clog your party with don't kill me precautions as opposed to I want to get through the seed fast precautions.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, because there's a lot of ways for this seed to have gone very, very rudely, and you managed to avoid a lot of the rudeness thanks to your party choice. So that is something that definitely went well for you for this seed. Zoe, do you have any final questions?
Not really. Like, this was just a pleasure to watch. It's been a pleasure watching you throughout the tournament. Very hard to believe that we are soon going to be in the semifinals, and this tournament will be done soon. I wanted to just say GG's again and wish you the best of luck in the semifinals versus Dia. Not too much luck, because I still kind of care about my bracket, but I'm just hoping for excitement. My bracket's destroyed by this point, so I'm just hoping for some good races.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Really appreciate all you guys taking the time to do the volunteer work. I appreciate your guys' commentary, the restream tracking. Yeah, and hopefully this semifinal goes a little better than the Full Gauntlet one did. And yeah, hopefully we put on a good show for you guys.
I'll wish you the best of luck then.
All right, take care, you guys.
Thank you. You too.
And in the meantime, Stone Dingley playing out the rest of the seed, very valiant. Had a bit of a rocky start to the Z fight, but seems to have recovered very nicely and should be getting that crack and that flash here pretty soon. Just while we wait for it, the hugest congratulations to Stone Dingley. Did very well throughout the tournament. Had a great showing during the table stage. Had one of the best strength of schedules, so he had to go through some very, very talented runners who were winning a lot of races to make it here, and knocked off Zilch. And Zilch was one of my presumptive favorites for the entire tournament.
I had Zilch going to face me in the final match. I was very wrong on that front.
I had Zilch losing to Dia in the semis. I'll say that much. But yeah, finishes with a time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 19 seconds. That will bring his tournament to a close. But it has been a fantastic run, and going to see if we can be joined by him for an interview.
Yeah, this has definitely been, I believe this is their first free enterprise tournament, so this is a very strong showing for them. And we are joined by a Stone Dingley now. GG's. That seed ended up very rude for you in a lot of ways.
Oh, definitely. It didn't help that I was just having trouble focusing, and I made so many little mistakes that just silly in retrospect.
Yeah, we were talking that, like, this level of competition, mental mistakes can happen, and if you give your opponent an inch, they can run with it. And probably the biggest thing that I saw, that I know I've made that mistake before, was not having Tella in the middle for your D-Machine grind.
Yep, and that was one of the two things. And like, oh my gosh, missing 3 weeks at least. That was painful. But I also meant to throw that Drain Sword on Cecil to get his agility down, so the Porums wouldn't, be sitting around the whole time. I didn't even think about it till I had just got into the fight. I was like, oh, I just knew I'd lose more time resetting, so just went with it.
Yeah, that's incredibly understandable. I am very well acquainted with those types of mistakes, as I've had my own share of very poor grinds that did not do me any favors. And then we were discussing this at booth, but how were you feeling when you saw the CPU?
I was really glad it wasn't Wyvern.
That was a big difference between yourself and Fleury, was that Fleury did go and take 2 Cecils and 1 Porum and kept 1 Cecil down for the purpose of anchoring. but we were both saying we would be highly tempted to take the party you have because double white and nuke is a great way of getting through Zeromus. What were your thoughts on choosing your party?
Well, this was such a linear seed that I felt like the only gamble I could make was really in my character choice at that point. And I thought the safe thing to do would either be take the second Cecil or just keep my one Cecil down the whole time. And I figured, unless Wyvern is one of the 3 more bosses that I have to finish, right, through CPU and whatever's on the hook route, then you know what? I'll just let Cecil get some levels. I'll do get him to like at least 28 agility, and have him Zerk for most of the fight. You know, just I figured that'd be maybe the extra Porum would give me an edge, but then you see that CPU and it's like, nope.
Yeah.
You can't take an edge when your party is full already.
Yeah, the game's not keen on giving you extra characters.
Yeah, sorry. I had to take it.
It took a second.
I had to take it. I'm sorry.
Oh, my mind is already all over the place. I can't do puns right now.
Well, this is the wrong booth for that.
Well, we're trying to keep things a bit sharp.
Yeah, I want to say GG's. I say this to every runner as they exit the tournament, but it's been a delight watching you. You performed very well. I believe this was the first tournament for both of us in the free enterprise community, and you vastly outperformed me. But we are both in a very nice exclusive club of people that managed to beat Zilch in a race. And I know I'm going to hold on to that. That was the highlight of my tournament. But yeah, quarterfinals, nothing to shake a stick at. Sometimes rando's going to rando, and I cannot wait until the next time I see you compete, because it's going to be something to watch. And you've given a lot of racers someone else to be scared of.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. I've really enjoyed my time in the tournament. Like I've been saying every time since at least the start of the play-ins, like I've no idea how I got this far. I've had a lot of free time to practice lately. That's the only thing that I can think of that sets me apart, because everyone else has just done so well and it's so good. The competition's been amazing. I've really appreciated seeing all these new faces along with me. You know, it's just really nice. I love the community, and I'm looking forward to seeing how broken my bracket is come finals.
I'm not thinking about my bracket. My bracket got busted by myself.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people's brackets have been busted. This has been a wildly unpredictable playoffs. Yeah, this that's how this game goes sometimes.
Yeah, and you definitely had a very strong run. You made a very good showing, and you definitely had to face a lot of rough runners to get into here as well. So GG's to you on your entire run. You have put on a fantastic showing.
Well, thank you so much.
Do you have any final thoughts on the tournament or just free enterprise plans for the futures? I know for myself, I'm happy to go and take a bit of a break, but
pretty much the same. It's nice. I'm still going to finish watching the rest of the tournament, but I don't think I'm going to be picking up any more table flags anytime soon. I'm looking forward to some push B to jump. That'd be nice.
That sounds like a good relaxing set of flags. I was thinking of doing some kind of group hybrid flag where I go and put back on Sirens and T Wildish and, Edge in the overworld, but maybe keep Permajoin and some other stuff.
I'm just looking forward to the racing clubs. The racing clubs starting back up. So
yeah, that is something that will be. There is a lot of free enterprise, and while this tournament is wanting to close, there is always a lot of free enterprise around. So I am very excited to see more of you in the future, because you have been a fantastic opponent to race against, as I faced you in the run up to this point, and you were definitely no slouch that I didn't go and know beforehand, and definitely know now.
I appreciate all the kind words, and thanks for everything that you all do, commentary, restreaming. I know that you put in a lot of work to make sure all this stuff runs. Like, I can't believe that there's so many people doing commentary day after day and doing restreaming and tracking. Like, it's really impressive. like how much you're giving to this community to make all of this happen.
Well, thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, and thank you for going and just being part of this tournament and helping putting on a show. This is we wouldn't be able to show off anything without you and Fleury, so thank you for being a participant.
All right, it's my pleasure. Everybody take care of yourselves.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you, you
GGs.
too.
And before we get into our sign-offs, I did want to just mention to everyone that if you are watching this and you are not part of the community, you have not yet played, and this tournament has piqued your interest, feel free to join our Discord, the Free Enterprise Workshop. There's a link on our homepage, ff4fe.com, which will take you right here. Even outside of this tournament, there's always races had. We're very friendly and helpful to new players. I know that I got a ton of help when I started, and we would love to see more new faces, especially when the next tournament rolls around. We had a ton of new faces this tournament.
Yeah, it is. Every tournament we have new people's like, who is this? And then they just make some good solid pushes in there. So it's never too late to go and join in on the racing. If you look at this and think it's fun, play some on your own, play casually. If you look at this and think this is exciting, you can play a lot as well. And there's a lot of ways to go and get, start your own push into competitive free enterprise. And I would not be surprised to see even more new names for our next tournament.
But I'm out of thoughts. So unless you have any final words, Baka, I think we have a raid that we're going to go do.
The only final thoughts I have are to thank our restreamer Gambit17 and our tracker Chazman for going and helping us put on the show, and to thank you, my co-commentator co-commentator ZoeVermilion for joining me this evening.
Yes, and thank you as well. Also, if you enjoyed watching the runners, feel free to give them a follow. We might not see a lot of free enterprise from a Stone Dingley in the near future, but they'll be back on it before we know it. But great content regardless.
But with that, we will be going and sending you over to the RPG Valkyries, who are going and doing their speedrun Ragnarok Marathon. They have the Shoujo Senshin Sailor Moon. It is a puzzle game, a race between two runners that are both quite good at that game. So go there, give them your love, and have a fantastic evening.
And one of them is Invenerable, if you recognize that name at all.
Indeed.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.